Welcome to another episode of the Pennock Knockdown, a show where we unpack key strategies and tactics for digital marketing leaders. Today, I've got a really special guest on the phone with us. We've got Lisa Raehsler. Lisa is a recognized leader in paid search strategy, and she's the founder of BigClickCo. She helps businesses and agencies maximize performance by integrating AI and Google Ads along with other paid media channels. She is a top most influential PPC expert. She's spoken at over 50 industry events worldwide, has been a featured guest on many podcasts, and has published over 150 articles in marketing publications. Lisa, that's a lot going on. I'm so excited to have you on the show today and pick your brain.
I am really happy to be here, and that is over a long period of time.
You don't look old enough to be over a long period of time, but I appreciate that. Before we hit record, I learned Lisa is in the Minneapolis area. I am from Minnesota, so always fun to have other Midwestern people on the show, especially Midwestern people who do very similar work to what I do here at our agency. So Lisa, I'd love to understand a little bit about what you were doing prior to BigClickCo and what kind of led you to this line of work and starting your business.
I've dedicated my career to digital marketing and PPC for 18 years, and I've had my own business for 15 years. So I barely remember what happened before that, but it was mostly Marcom, and I did some direct mail with some major brands, and worked at advertising agencies in my early career.
So how did you then take the leap? Because it sounds like you stepped out on your own pretty early. What caused that shift and that shuffle for you as a young up and comer?
It was that I really enjoyed the work. I saw how successful other people were at it, and it was early on. So it was, I think, a little bit easier then to strike out on my own. And I got heavily involved in speaking at conferences and writing articles, as you pointed out. So it gave me opportunities to speak more, be in front of people, and acquire clients. So yeah, I've been doing that the whole time.
That's incredible. And you mentioned you're doing work with businesses and with agencies. Tell us a little bit of the mix of the businesses you're supporting today.
The businesses that I have at this exact moment in time, I'm doing a lot of B2B, but over the years, I have done healthcare, software, e-commerce, almost all industries I have worked with. And for agencies, what I do is basically they tend to be smaller agencies that have a few pay-per-click clients that they need help with and strategy and guidance from an expert. And I do really enjoy doing that because I get to work with a team and help them have those PPC accounts integrated into their other marketing. So it's always fun.
Got it. And performance marketing is kind of a niche and narrow area of marketing overall. And you said for those few years you were doing work before BigClickCo, you were a little bit more on maybe Marcom side. How did you get pulled into the PPC world?
I can't remember where the exact turning point was. I think it was something where I just started learning about it. And I think I was learning about it on my own. It was really challenging. So I started working. I worked for 2 agencies, and I worked at Thomson Reuters on their e-commerce site doing PPC and digital media. And then after that is when I went out on my own.
And the rest is history.
Yeah,
Love
the rest is history. And I really dove into it. And I think when you, like you're saying, it's really a specialized niche. And I think that's what really helped me to be successful at the speaking and the writing, because I dive deep into it. So spitting out an article about audience targeting isn't out of my norm.
We're a little beyond midway through 2025. There's been so many changes and advancements and everything going on in every ad platform. What are you most excited about?
The biggest news in the ad platforms right now is how they're rapidly rolling out the AI features, and those run the gamut of the going from the budgets and the bidding to the ad creative to the targeting and mixing that up into this delightful, fantastic, highly relevant ball of PPC goodness. But it's also kind of scary because it does have a mind of its own, and we still need humans for their checks into what's going on. So they're changing a lot, especially in the search industry, and how they're looking at keywords and how we're bidding on keywords. That's what's going on right now. That's what's really hot. It's changing rapidly. It's like the biggest shift that we've seen in this business for many, many years.
And how do you like position yourself from around this? Because you're probably feeling some of the same things we hear from clients, which is like, do we even need an ad agency or a paid media agency that's building strategy and monitoring? Like, is that enough to pay you to do? So how do you deal with that? I mean, I think you mentioned like oversight by a human and probably not just a person who doesn't really get it, but someone with deep knowledge. Like, yeah, tell me a little bit how you are dealing with answering that question if it's come up before.
Well, there are a few different reasons why you still need a human. The AI and the machine learning, it isn't smart enough at this time to develop a strategy for your business and for the products that you're offering. So there's so many things it doesn't know. It's going to generically apply a template to your business. If you are selling anything, which is almost everybody, are you selling something? Of course you are. So you don't want to put everything into an automated process that doesn't have checks on it. There's no way you would want to do that. The other thing is that it makes a lot of mistakes. So besides a generic template, it does also make a lot of mistakes and will give you the generic ad copy. And thirdly, the features are changing so rapidly, and those don't just like kick in. Right now, people need to manage those new features, set them up, make sure that they're aligned with everything else that is in the account. So if they're like releasing like a new video feature, the managers, PPC human managers need to go through and decide, where does this best fit into our accounts? What type of video do we want? Who do we want to target? Even though maybe after you get that initial setup done, it can run okay by itself. So that's just 3 reasons. Just when things are just fully automated, I wouldn't put my revenue heavily rely on that.
I think that's fair. We run a lot of, if we're talking about Google Ads, Performance Max campaigns right now because they do work so much better. And sometimes I'll see a line item on a media plan where it's like Performance Max, all products, really strong ROAS expectation. Performance Max, their best selling SKU, lower ROAS expectation. And I'm like, then why are we separating out, like, why are we building multiple campaigns if some of the outputs are lower than the general campaign? And so I don't know if you deal with stuff like this either, but the feedback today was, well, in the general campaign, we somehow can't like get the system to spend, or it's spending, it's just not spending on these priority products for the client. And so we have to like siphon them off and put them somewhere else so that we can control the output and the throughput rather of like the velocity for their top SKUs. So I don't know if you're encountering stuff like that, but again, like on paper, I was like, this looks ridiculous because the other one that's simpler looks like the best result for the client.
Right. There are a lot of cases where we need to manage it in a way that only humans can, where we know the details, the ins and outs of the business and how the products are performing and what the return on investment is and what the margins are.
Yeah.
What products the client even wants to focus on, where they'll need to be segmented out or negatived out or whatever the case may be. So there isn't a one size fits all. I've worked on several accounts that were the same sort of business, the same category, and their accounts are totally different. I've never had a case where I could take one, copy it, and apply it to another business.
Yeah.
That doesn't, not even close.
I'm right there with you. And the amount of agencies I hear our brands come from that kind of operate that way, it's just mind boggling to me. So tell me about something that you think is a little underrated, whether it be a channel, a tactic, a bid strategy. Love to kind of get into where your brain goes when you think about things that are underrated in the ad space.
When I think about things that are underrated, yeah, there's two that I'm thinking of right now that might be underrated also when we're talking about health and beauty, which is Microsoft ads. They have a completely different video network than Google does, which focuses mostly on YouTube. So if you wanted to get out of that and try something different, that would be a good way to expand reach. They also have CTV ads, the connected TV ads, and their network is a little more robust than Google's, which is basically YouTube again. So with Microsoft, you can hit some many different streaming channels. I think they have an exclusive relationships with a lot of. I don't have it committed to memory right now. I don't want to say the wrong one. But so that is a very cool feature that they have. I think there's a really interesting opportunity on Reddit that is newer. They have they have everything under the sun on there, right?
Yeah.
So they have health and beauty. That is a really interesting place to reach people and people who are highly engaged.
Right. Yeah, we hear about Reddit a lot more either internally or from clients wanting a different solution than we do Microsoft. Microsoft comes up like a couple times a year. And for those reasons, you can probably imagine my team and I are not doing a lot of things on Microsoft. But I do think oftentimes running connected TV or video through programmatic is like, depending on the vendor, like the results are not always super impressive. So while we're exploring new connected TV vendors, it would make sense to pull in Microsoft. So that's a good plug. And I haven't looked at the data to see how people are using their search engine, but I guess at this point it's like Copilot versus Gemini versus ChatGPT, since people are not using search like they used to, no matter what. And I like Copilot. I might be on an island by myself, but I think their product's pretty good.
Their search is really interesting because the search is built into a lot of their Office products, and they obviously Bing. And with Copilot, they're starting to show ads in Copilot, and I've seen the presentation from Microsoft on it and some screenshots of how the ads present themselves. What's really cool about it, and this is another trend in the industry, is that they're not just serving the ads based on the keyword itself, but on the themes and the AI chat about the topic. So if I'm researching moisturizing creams or tinted SPF, I'll be getting into it and they'll be showing me ads, not just based on the keyword, but based on what I'm finding in there, talking about in the search. So they might find out that there's some kind of, I'm looking for men or children or for waterproof. They'll get a lot of extra audience signals from that chat. So it's a very cool. And so that's what I love what they're doing, and they really don't get enough attention.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the plug. It just gets better and better as you tell me more about the things to do with Microsoft and with Copilot. I know like the evolution of pixels and third party and zero party data is like all over the place. It's hard to even stay up on the latest because I think Google's delayed and delayed, right? What is your take on how targeting and trackability is going to look down the road?
The targeting and trackability, I think that, right, so delaying the tracking for third party. So a lot of people have been leaning into uploading their customer lists and being prepared for that so that they can use their first party data and then also generate the lookalike audiences. They have different names in every channel. So lookalike audience are similar to audiences. So that's really helpful. I think they are really the audience signals are really increasing over the years, or getting more robust with Google and with Microsoft. Again, with the AI, they're looking at so many signals that it's incredible. So it's not just about their interests, but it's about, where they're located, what the time of day is, what their previous searches are, what other websites they've gone to, then their personal information, and really packaging that into the audiences. And I mean, there's like thousands of I think there's millions of signals when you mix and match them. So it becomes very sophisticated and a lot more dependable for results, right?
Yeah. And then I guess like, okay, so we've got the signals, we get to input some, we assume there's some AI, not assume, but like there might be some AI level of signaling on top of that. Then again, it kind of goes back to the question of, well, what is a media buyer? What is the value of the media buyer? Because I think like the more we're saying like AI will do that and we'll put in the target ROAS or like cap CPCs or whatever it is our bid strategy is. So it's like, we're putting so many like rules and constraints or what have you in these platforms that in some cases they're not even spending if they're not hitting the requirement, right? The spend will be reduced until the requirement is met or close to the requirement is met. So are you getting lots of comments like that from the people you're talking to, or are you finding the people you talk to are maybe like less in the marketing space themselves, so they don't even know what questions to ask as you like start to talk to them about working together?
I don't think they really understand like the sheer power and capabilities that they have access to.
Yeah.
So we've touched on 5, 6, 7, 8 really cool ideas during our talk. We could talk for hours about all of these different features that we could leverage. So I think that yeah, that's what I'm saying, is not really knowing what the capabilities are and understanding how sophisticated it is. And I've seen lately this sort of, I think I just need to buy a keyword, very circa 10 years ago, and it does not work that way at all. You can do the targeting, as you said, if you want Google to find all your audiences, but you still have the ability to say, I want to look for people who are interested in these types of things. They're looking at these types of websites. There are, if you're looking at the health and beauty industry, I mean, there are so many different niches in that where you just don't want the generic health and beauty, or there's going to be a lot of variables in your targeting.
So true. So true. Thank you for walking us through that again. What things beyond the ad platform and the engine are you kind of like helping your clients with, whether it's sort of best practices when they get to the website, happens, like what else matters? Because I know back in the day, I worked with so many marketers who were like, well, the ad strategy is great. Your website sucks. And I'm like, well, tell me more. Like you can't just like walk away from it then and be like, my work is done. The rest is on you. So how do you deal with situations like that when it could be truly like the ad strategy is brilliant? It's just something's breaking down when people get beyond the ad platform.
I know exactly what you mean, because it is one of those things for me where it's like, I don't really want to work with that. I don't want to deal with the website because I mean, it's a tremendous project, tremendous area, but you have to keep in mind what the website and the landing pages are, because it could define the ad strategy. If this is the only type, if this is their website, these are the pages, this is their shopping cart, technology, whatever it may be, that's creating some sort of restrictions or holding things back or presenting opportunities, whatever is going on with that will determine the ad strategy. One interesting thing that's happening with the landing pages is that a lot of these AI advancements that are being released are integrating the landing pages even more.
Mm-hmm.
In that they used to check the landing pages to make sure that the landing pages made sense and they were matching up with your campaigns. I mean, this is really across all of the platforms. It really applies to everybody. So not just Google, but I use that as an example. Mm-hmm. So what they're doing now is when they're doing those automated ads and they're writing the ads for you, and they're saying, oh, we don't need people because they're writing the ads for us. Well, they're taking some of the copy from the landing page. That means if your landing page isn't ideal, outdated, the wrong one, I mean, there's like 100 reasons, bad things that can go wrong there. They're taking that from the landing page and then propagating your ads and then sending that out. So
yeah,
that's another checkpoint that we have to be aware of and maybe give some recommendations as to how to overcome any issues that are going on. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of reporting on that either.
Yeah.
They're taking off the page.
Well, I love this. You just spent a good chunk of time reminding us all why you can't rely on only AI to run your ad management or your ad strategy. Lisa, as we get closer to the end, I guess like one of the main questions I like to ask in wrapping is, You started BigClickCo quite a while ago, but if you were to rewind to that moment in time, what advice would you give yourself if you were able to start all over again?
Yeah, that's a good question. If I could start all over again, I don't think I would start out differently, but I think that what I would have done is during maybe mid career with my own company is maybe got into some different areas, maybe specialized or threw in some other types of services. For a while when there was the GA4 transition, I provided some of those services. And so I think I would have done that.
Yeah, got it. Cool. Well, there's still time to do that. And
Yeah,
in an
definitely.
industry like ours that is evolving and pivoting so quickly, I'm sure you'll find yourself having moments to do that again in the future.
For sure. It's just something for me to be thinking in a different way to just keep my mind moving.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Well, Lisa, if people want to connect, follow you, where should we send them? We'll put this in show notes too, but if you want to give a shout out to a channel or a platform, that would be great.
I would love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn so we can communicate and see each other's content. And then I have a newsletter on Substack called The Paid Media Mix.
Love it. It's a
Yeah.
good one. I can't wait to check that one out personally. Well, Lisa, it's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I love it.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks.